and challenges and tribulations we've experienced in our Mama Salon. They said to every misfortune there's a blessing in disguise. These atrocities are actually empowering us women. They've made us realize our potential and what we're capable of. So we're going to go through them in chronological order as they've happened, as we've experienced them. We first experienced the Civil War. I'm not going to say much because we've got presenters who are going to come and give us an insight into each and every one of these challenges we've been faced with. We've got the Civil War that lasted about 11 years. And then we got Mr. Ebola. Mr. Ebola came and caused us so much stress. And then we've got mudslide. And then we had the floodings, which to some extent still goes on. And I think that's why the female in Sierra Leone are very involved in the Saturday cleaning. Because cleaning the gutters and making way for the flow of excess water helps to minimize these floodings. And then the last but not the least, it's constant, it's ongoing. And that's where their mentoring is significant. The victims of knife crime in UK. As I always say when I give these talks, we have 4 generations in this community now. We've got grandparents, we've got parents, we've got children, we've got grandchildren. We are struggling. Society is evolving at a pace where we're not able to keep up, especially as African parents. Because whether we like it or not, our upbringing is different. We are raised differently from how we are trying to raise our children. We are struggling because we're trying to raise them as African children, but guess what? They are not. They're English, they're westernized. They're constantly telling us, oh, you African parents, all you do is shout, you don't listen. So these ladies are going to be the listeners. When we're struggling, they can listen. It takes one person to have a child, but it takes a village to raise one. So let's remember these good qualities, the relevance of some of these organizations. It doesn't mean if you can't parent your child, that means you failed. Sometimes you just don't have the skills. So I will go on to introduce the First Lady, who will come and talk to us a little bit about the Civil War in Sierra Leone. She's a wife and a mother. And she works somewhere where I don't think she would want us to say where she works, but she works at that big house. That house where all man going down before now. Wait till you don't come on at that house, you do bloody. Now that big house they work. And then she's also a member of FISIL. She's actually their assistant treasurer. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mrs. Evelyn Sandy.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to talk about the Civil War, and I know that's something we all can never forget. So I'm just here to give a brief summary of what we went through and what we had to deal with before the lighting of the candle. Well, the Civil War started in March of '91 when the RAF was formed to overthrow the government then that we had. They were obviously financially assisted by the government of Liberia. The war lasted over 11 years and over 50,000 people were killed and millions displaced. And as we all know, the effect of that war was destruction of the country's infrastructure, health and economy was down, children were exploited as soldiers, children were forced to take drugs, young girls were recruited into sexual slavery or forcible marriages, civilians' limbs were amputated, including young children, destruction of civilians' homes, burnt alive in their homes, human rights abuse, abduction, beating, shooting, looting, killing, and other violent actions. But then also there was rebuilding of peace in Sierra Leone. The civil war ended in Sierra Leone in January of 2002, when we had the United Nations troops for the first time began to deploy peacefully in rebel-held territories. Tony Blair then, British Prime Minister, ordered the deployment of British forces to Sierra Leone. In December 2005, the UN peacekeeping troops left Sierra Leone, marking the end of a 5-year mission to restore order and peace. Ladies and gentlemen, the war may be over, but we still see the emotional, psychological, emotional, physical effects of people. FISIL is here in remembrance to work together with your continued support for the ongoing scars in our community. As an organization that supports and promotes female development, our aim is to support women with challenging or difficult lives. Many children were conceived from these forced marriages, most of whom are girls. Most of these children are currently without fathers and are being raised by the very mothers who had to forcibly go through the ordeal. The government is currently not doing enough to support these children. Women in FISIL aim to support these children and other unfortunate women in Sierra Leone through donations and money raised from organized functions. Today, I remember victims of war. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sandy. To light the candle, can I have Mrs. Grace Akin Sulu, please?
Play something at the background. Play something, yeah, at the background, something mellow. Maybe an instrumental. Papa Kanga.
Give her a round of applause, please. Thank you.
Now for the something ready, when they hold the person they can light the candles. No, just an instrumental.
Where's my co-MC? Okay. Right, so wasn't that touching? It was. And you're thinking about rape during the war. Women being whisked away for days. For example, when the war finally came to Freetown, started off at Okra Hill. I know a young lady who was taken away to Okra Hill for months. She was there with these rebels. God knows what they did to her. Pretty young lady. Because of that, she's never really wanted to engage in any intimate relationship. She's become quite boisterous. So we have to think about that. Mrs. Sandy spoke about these women raising children that they've had from rape. Do you know how resentful that can be? Look at that child. The level of resentment, the anger, the frustration, the sadness, the depression. That poor innocent child didn't ask for that. So let's ponder on those thoughts. Let's think about those. And let's think about the information we're getting. Over to you, Sir Smith.
Thank you very much. That's the golden voice of Aisata. Certainly, I for begin do like how DJ Little can do the show time. Good evening, sir. You see DJ Little in the corner. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here in England talking about Corona now. And I had a message from Sierra Leone when somebody was talking to me yesterday saying, Una Osho Badio. I'm like, this is a global thing. They say, yes, but when you want to be able to be global thing, now we get it. As more small losers as we get it. So that's what Osho right now. And that's true because we don't want it to be in Africa. But what I learned when I spoke to my son, he said, the moment we heard about this corona thing, we stopped shaking hands in Sierra Leone because we've learned from Ebola. From that, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have to appreciate our people because they're learning as we go along. You know, we don't hope because the medical down there is something else. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to still reiterate on the fact that Pastor Tala said something about women to leave the gospel. I'm very much serious about that because nothing against women, but some women talk things that does not concern them and jump into people's business. Please, it's affecting all of us one way or the other. The less we do it, you cannot stop doing it. We all talk about somebody, but the better it will become for us, especially what's going on in the country now. And on that note, I'm here to present another wife. These people here are just wives. That means they are married. And if they are wives, they get picky, which means they are. This is the introduction thing. I will just give you that. Ladies and gentlemen, the coordinator of Cultural Twist UK, join me in welcoming Mrs. Matilda Richards, talking about Ebola. Definitely, Ebola took a lot of lives, including some people that I do know. Sorry, don't forget to wipe your castelli.
No vex, Alan. They're safe, but take precaution. Thank you very much for coming today. We are very happy and grateful to see you all here. I'm just going to say a brief word about Ebola. As we all know, this deadly disease or epidemic, as it was called, was in Sierra Leone for 2 full years. 2014 to 2016. It took most of our family members. I'm sure everybody here lost somebody. It was deadly and it was nothing we could do about it. So, of course, Sierra Leone had the highest number of deaths. According to statistics, most countries had it, but we had 14,124 confirmed cases, and also we had labs that did tests on 8,706 cases, and deaths were almost 4,000 to be precise, 3,956. That's a lot of people from our community. We're not that big. So, what are we going to do to avoid COVID-19 getting to Sierra Leone? I'm not sure if we all have so many ideas. Everybody say, pray, pray, pray. Of course, prayer is the key, it's going to be the first thing. But we need to think of something else. Obviously, they're thinking of closing the borders or doing a lot of hygiene, washing things as many times as possible. I know airports, hygiene, everything. But we need to do our bit. For any virus not to take over our lives or our environment, we have to make sure we're doing excessive cleaning. Cleaning is the key. Without cleaning, you are nothing. If you come out and you're looking like a crappy person or tiny or even dirty, everybody tells you as you're not clean. So we need to learn to keep hygiene to the highest standard as possible as we can. Teach our kids to be very, very hygienic. Wash your hands, wash your face, wash this, wash that. Everything is washing. The word is washing. The word is washing. The word is washing. As from now on, when I see you all on the road, because I think I know everybody here, I'll just see you and I'll say, washing.
wash. So from now on, I start, we are going to wash. We are going to wash and that's it. So remember to disinfect everything regularly. Not just washing, but use soap, please. If possible, bleach. Yes. Anything to keep excessive hygiene to the highest standard possible. Also, can we be very careful as we touch sensitive parts of our bodies? Disease spread quickly in areas, and I think that's what happened to Ebola. People were touching, kissing, hugging, and okay, yes, it's our culture, but people think, okay, if I don't do this, it looks disrespectful. But when it comes to viruses, we have to be careful. There has to be some disrespect. I'm sorry I didn't say that kids don't listen. But please, remember, you have to be very careful with parts of your body. If you cough, as they say, cough in your sleep. Clothes don't keep viruses as long as your body does. So please, we need to be careful with parts of our bodies. And also, we need to avoid contact with anybody who has the same symptoms. If you see somebody coughing continuously, or if you see somebody that you think might have a virus, just don't go close to the person. You can greet them from a distance. I'm sure they're not going to feel upset because they know what's going on. Yeah. So we have been bombarded by Ebola in the past, and it took a lot of lives, which will never come back. We lost a lot of good doctors. Oh my God, I cannot begin to count. And a lot of well-learned people who could put us through in a lot of other areas. We lost them all. And now we're trying to build up the young generation. So we need to look out for warning signs. Warning signs that will help us to determine who is ill and who has the virus. So I just want to bring it all to your attention, urge you all to be very careful. And we don't need a repeat of another Ebola in Sierra Leone. We don't want to lose any more nation, no more families, no more friends. So if we can just all be extremely careful and be mindful that diseases will come, they will spread, but we need to take a lot of precautions to avoid them. So may the souls of all those who we lost in Ebola rest in perfect peace. Thank you very much.
Amen. You know, those of us that are old enough would actually remember when we were growing up, there was a song saying, "You be Noasa." Say something nowadays. Now, back of Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, in the midst of adversities, there is laughter. And if you look at your program, the lighting of the candle should have been done by King Masco, but I don't think he's here, because I think I know him very well. And since he's not here, we call it on Pastor Tala to do the lighting of the candle. It's been sanitized. Well, they take precaution. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Sir Alan. One of his greatest lines: "If you happy and you know it, clap your hands."
You stole it away.
Well, that's what you do. When you work with your boss, you learn very quickly.
That's right.
Am I a learner? Thank you. I'm a fast learner. Thank you very much. So we move on swiftly. We move on to the mudslide. I think a lot of us who are not even strongly religious kind of predicted the mudslide. A lot of us who used to drive through, IMAT region to go to the other side or go upline, we predicted it. I personally remember driving through and saying, "The house there, how do you go up to these houses? They're hanging, deforestation, what's going on?" So as much as it was nature, man contributed to it. We sped up nature. So we have to think about our responsibility to society. We have to. Not to everything that Papa God, left all things to God. No. Not all things to God. You have to be responsible and be accountable. So when you go to your maker, you're able to answer the questions that you're posed. Another mother, another wife, and another very stout member of the FISIL, ladies and gentlemen, in honor of the mudslide victims, I call on Mrs. Ramatu Blango to come and talk to us and give us an insight.
Washing, yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Yeah. Thanks once more for your time, taking your precious time to come and patronize with us on this our special occasion. I'm here to just talk briefly about the mudslide. Okay. As we all know, Sierra Leone, we do experience rain, isn't it? Every downpour of rain, and mostly around July to September. And on this fateful day, on August 14, 2017, that's when we have the heaviest downpour of rain, where a lot of Sierra Leoneans, especially those that were living along the Mount Sugarloaf Mountains, were caught to this dreadful, dreadful rain. And it left, like, according to statistics, that's not me anyway. This is not my say anyway. It left 1,141 people there, and 3,000 were left homeless. And up to this time, we were told that most of the people were still under the rubble. But just as our NC mentioned, most of these disasters are caused by ourselves. And it's because of the overpopulation in our country and the poverty. That is why you are seeing us, women in Sierra Leone, putting ourselves together just to support our country. So, my fellow sisters, please, those that are hanging out there, I know some of you want to join us, but I don't know what your problem is. You all are welcome. Let's support our country. It is really dreadful. It is really dreadful. I'm just coming from Sierra Leone, December. Some areas I visited, you won't want to live there. To be honest, you will not. Because this mudslide, it's really affected lives. People that I used to know, areas that I used to go, there are no more people there. But still, people are going there to build houses because everything is so expensive and they can't move from there. And another thing, though the UNDP was in 2014 originally decided to come together to advise people in Sierra Leone to be planting trees for deforestation, people ignore it totally. They ignore it. That's what has caused all of this disaster, mudslide, flooding, and all the rest of it. But now, female in Sierra Leone has come together, and then they have put on to do the National Tree Planting Day, which female in Sierra Leone, they are very, very much active in participating. They are planting trees everywhere, encouraging communities. Women are coming out just to plant trees to deforest our community. And I know by God's grace, it is going to be a worldwide something in our country. Even in the provinces, people are still doing it. And I hope we, the diaspora, we are going to support our country to do more of this. So without much ado, I want to join families back home that have lost their loved ones to this small slide to say, may their soul continue to rest in perfect peace. Amen.
And if we have Mrs. Clara Williams, please. Mrs. Clara Williams to come and mark the candle for us. DJ skills out. Mix master. Let me test it. Let me see what you're going to play for Mrs. Clara Williams. You probably was not born then. The song you should play. The song you can play. You probably weren't born yet. Probably even your mother wasn't born yet. Old school.
This is good. You've put the DJ to test.
Oh yes. He's our son. He's our new, by the way. DJ Little Entertainment is going to hand over to him. So watch it.
You see, it was funny, ladies and gentlemen. The first time I saw this gentleman, and I know DJ Little, I'm like, one tall and one.
Tall and short.
I didn't say the short. I mean, I have too much respect for DJ Little.
Little. Yes. Tall and little.
Oh, yes.
That's it. I wish I could be like you when I get to your age. We all go reach there. Dexterity issues. Don't mend them. Auntie Clara, don't mend them. Oh, we all go reach there. Some of we don't begin reach there, sir. God bless me now, seriously. Rather than be type, you may ask.
That's how we respect age in our community. Thank you very much, Auntie Clara. I'm not making dance with the court. You know, I went to this lady just now, and I said, what do I have to say about you? He said, I'm a mother. I said, you're a wife? He said, yes. I said, you have kids? He said, yes. I said, okay, we're going to say something else. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the next lady to do a talk on flooding. She has worked, or she's working as a in social services with people with learning disability. We have a whole of people in this organization with diverse professions, so I should say. There are nurses, but I mean different areas. They're doing very well, and definitely she is the founder of Friends of Diabetes in Sierra Leone. She's doing a very good work. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome Mrs. Fatmata Jalo. Come on! This is Jalo's Infidels. Oh yes, come on! Let's go dancing. Ooh la la la. What is selector? Mrs. Jalo tell me say we know they practice this dance in the house.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, I'm not one of the diabetes organizers. I'm just part of FISIL and I'm a strong member with them. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being part of us. I'm going to talk about the flood in Freetown, but first of all, you can see what climate change have done in England, all over the world. And you can see the flooding that's happened in England, people losing their houses and businesses. So flooding is one of the big things, and then it was something like they talk about in the United Nations. I remember one girl went there and was talking about climate change, you know, and he was really, he was a 15-year-old, and I was so happy for that little girl, and everybody was clapping and happy because climate change has destroyed the whole world. So Freetown, August is usually the wettest month in Freetown, one of the wettest cities in Africa. The city is known for its heavy rains and its exceptional vulnerability to flooding. September 2009, torrential rains flooded the capital city, killing over 100 people and destroying thousands of houses. In September 2015, flooding killed 7 people and left thousands homeless. Kube, a large coastal slum, has flooded every single year for the last 9 years. We know that climate change is loading the dice, shifting the location, timing, and intensity of rainfall. We know that Sierra Leone is one of the world's most vulnerable countries to climate change. This national tragedy is a wake-up call. Communities all along our coast are threatened because this is one national disaster where man-made activity meets climate change head-on. A predictable event now made tragically real. All along our coastal line, deforestation takes place, and everyday trees with their integrity, root network holding our beloved Sugarloaf Mountain together are cut down for commercial logging or, as in case of Regent, unplanned building. A mountain or hills with no means of support means mudslide when more intense storms and flash flooding caused by climate change strike. We need to encourage the government and people of Sierra Leone to plant more trees, also to stop destroying the environment of our beloved nation. We remember those who lost their lives during the flooding, and we pray for them, and some of us know, we know people who lost their lives, and we pray for them that the country will be back again as usual. Thank you very much to God.
Thank you.
All right, that was Mrs. Fatmata Jalo. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're doing MC and you start writing on a piece of paper, you start mixing stuff up sometimes, which I have done and I stand corrected. And I said she's the founder of Friends of Diabetes UK. No, she's not. And I stand corrected. Nothing against you, man. But join me in welcoming the founder of Diabetes UK, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Salome Arts. Mr. DJ, here we go. We need to see our money. This is your job. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. No. That mommy dance. Aha. You want to see dance? You want to see dance? I want to for our voice. Mr. DJ, make you dance. That's it, you know, what should we do? It's a miracle. Here we go. Why is like that? I said, Mr. Leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, lights in the candle, Mrs. Salome Heights.
May their souls rest in perfect peace.
Amen. Thank you. Sam? Background.
How we get them boogie? Get for shake body. No, so. They say it's not the money, no, so. It doesn't matter how sad you feel, there's always laughter is good. And guess what? Laughter is good for the immune system, you know. It releases something called endorphins that helps fight foreign things. Right. And it will help you fight coronavirus too. Anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to another ongoing problem. For us, I think this is also an epidemic. This is an epidemic in this country. Knife crime. It's an epidemic. And we are all responsible in one way or another. We are all accountable. Good children, bad children. We all think, oh, I'm the best parent. I'm raising my children well. Let me share a personal story with you. One that I think only few people around me know. Very few people. February the 17th was the beginning of half term. My son, who is 16 years old, and his friend, who I know very well, I actually say he's my adopted son, because he actually taught my son to hug me. My son never used to like hugging me for one reason or another. I think he took me for granted. But this boy came into our home and showed my son how lucky he is to have a mother like me. Principals, I have his mother's number. Because if my son is going over to him, I want to ensure he goes over to him. And I also want to reassure the mother that if your son is with me, be rest assured he is safe. I think I would put my hand up and say I raised my children very well. But I always say to people, our kids in this country, they have three personalities. The behavior at home, the behavior at school, and the behavior when they're hanging out with their friends in the park or in the bus. So Sunday night, it's half term. Sunday night he said to me, Mom, you did all the right things. Is it okay if I spend some time with my friend, D? I said, yes. And I said, what are you going to do? He said, oh, I'm just going to go hang out at his house. I said, that's okay. That's fine. I said, make sure you, because I was going to work, I said, make sure you text me when you get there. All right? He said, yes, Mommy. He did go, and he did text me. He texted me to say, Mom, I'm there. And I said, okay, have fun. Not knowing, D as well has told his mom, I'm going over to L's house. And then Mom also said, yes, it's fine. Go. You're going to be okay. So, then they met up. In all fairness to them, they lied, but which one of us haven't done such a lie? I remember I used to put clothes in my bucket saying I'm going to go fetch water to go to the afternoon jump because I wasn't allowed. So, and it's the innocent action of it all. That's what changed my life that day. They wanted to go bike riding. My son has a bike that cost me over £350. He did not want to ride that bike. Why? Because his friend does not have a bike. So what did they do, as all the teenagers are doing? they go and break into the Santander bikes and they ride them. So both of them took this bike, they rode all the way to London Bridge, from Elephant and Castle, rode all around that area, and I think they just got quite explorative. They thought, let's keep going. Cut a story short, they ended up in Clapham High Street, a very affluent area. At 3:30 in the afternoon, broad daylight, they decided, oh, we're hungry now, let's go into McDonald's. Dee said, oh, I've got a tenner, I'll treat you. As they were walking into the McDonald's, 7 boys were coming out of the McDonald's. And then they said to them, yo, you look strange. You don't live here. Where are you from? As they were trying to, and this is my son who is always making as if he's tough. And then as they were trying to answer, they separated them. So 4 took my son, 3 took D. They separated them, and I think they saw my son's AirPod in his ears. So they thought, there's better investment here. So they took him round to the side street. D, they asked for his phone. His phone was crap. They didn't want it. Then they said to him, you've got money? And then initially he said, no, I don't have money. And then they said, well, you were going into McDonald's. That means you have money. And then they said to him, and then they pulled the knife. They said, if you don't give us your money, we're going to shank you. Which means stab you. So so he took out his £10 and gave it to them. Good thing is, he still had his phone. Now my son, he didn't know where my son was. They'd taken him away. And so the first thing he did was call his mom. Excuse me. And said to his mom, I can't find my friend. And then I was at work. And the interesting thing, I just worked across the common. Across the common is where I work in Clapham. And the mother didn't really know what to do, so she contacted me straight away. Now, I was busy at work talking to a GP. I thought, I'll answer this later. She kept calling, and I thought, this is not right. And then when I kept saying, sorry, I'll talk to you later, she then texted me to say, the boys are in trouble. Elle has been taken away. Then I did not again. I just dropped the phone down. I forgot I was talking to a GP. I dropped the phone down. I ran to the office because I was in an open office. I went and I spoke to her and she said, I don't know. She couldn't give me any information. Where are they? Where? No. I started calling the friend. Finally, he would not pick up his phone. I'm calling my son. I've put in all the measures that I think I should put in. I've tracked his phone. Our phones are connected. All of a sudden, I can't track it anymore. I can't find my iPhone either. It's disappeared. Cut the story short, she then told me where they were. And I thought, this is just around the corner from my workplace. And then I started looking. And I was numb. For 1 hour, I was numb because I was thinking the worst. Is he bleeding in an alleyway? What's happened? Why? What's going on? I couldn't even call any family. I couldn't call my husband. I was literally just numb. I just jumped in the car and started driving around thinking, I'm looking for my son. So, finally, she then rang me back and said, his son was with the police. And they were waiting for me at the train station, which is near the overground station. I said, okay. So I met them there, and they said they're still looking for my son. They're still looking for my son. And so I met the police. They were fantastic. Apparently, there was just a neighborhood office around the corner. They put Dee in the car, and they were driving around looking for my son. And whilst they were doing that, Dee was able to identify 4 of the boys. They were in the common. So he pointed out to them, and then they got the foot police to go and pick them up. And my son wasn't nowhere to be found. Thank God, they pulled him to the side of the street. They pulled a sword, and said to him, give us your AirPod, put your phone back to factory setting. That's why I couldn't locate him on the GPS or the Find My iPhone. Take off your trainers, otherwise we're going to shank you. And he gave them everything, because this is what I always say to them. If ever you're stopped for your material stuff, give it away. Mommy can always replace it. So he gave everything. And so I think he was so much in shock. Because I said to him later, why didn't you come to me? I was just around the corner. He said, Mom, they went the same way. So he just jumped on the bus. Thank God for TFL. They really don't check as much. And he went to his friend's house. And so the mother there was able to call me to say, he's just showed up here. I don't know how I felt that day. I don't know how I felt that day. The reason why I'm saying this is because the lady who's going to come and light the candle did not have such a good experience. And she was crucified by our community. She was called the bad parent. She was called everything under the sun. What if my son had died that day? Would you have called me a bad parent? Did I not do everything by the book? Did I not provide for him? Is it wrong for me to provide an iPhone for him? Is it wrong for me to give him an AirPod? No. Because what do we teach our children? You earn your good behavior.
True.
A good behavior is credited. That's my principle in my household. So ladies and gentlemen, let's think about that. Let's really think about that. Like Alan said, let's stop talking about what is not our business. And if you hear something sad or bad about somebody or somebody's loved one, if you cannot support them, don't say anything negative. Because you can only know someone if you've walked a mile in their shoes. So be very mindful. So on that note, I call the lady who is going to come and present an insight into the victims of knife crime in UK. As we were saying, people are saying, close the schools, close the schools. Now this is an NHS professional with 3 kids. So if we shut the schools, she's one parent we've lost at work. She works in human resources. So she looks after the people of NHS. She looks after the staff, their well-being, and make sure their rights are supported well. Alan, another married man or woman again. Is this a prerequisite?
So it's just the married women. Where are the married women?
Let's just make this clear. Is this a prerequisite? If you're not if you're single, you can't be a member? Thank you.
They were single, so.
And he's married. She's married to a very lovely man. The wings underneath her wings. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you no one but Mrs. Lydia Harrison.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome again. This evening, as with my sisters, I am here to talk a bit about knife crime. Female in Sierra Leone is a female organization. We thought it would be fitting to include knife crime in the UK as part of this event. Although this is not in the limelight as one of the issues that affects girls and women that I've talked about, this is affecting Sierra Leoneans, our mothers, our aunts, our sisters, our grandmothers, and carers who have loved ones, and to this devastating act. It is a disease that we should work together to help eradicate. I'm just going to list some facts about knife crime in the UK. The year ending March 2019, there were 43,516 knife crimes in the UK. Wow. London where we have a majority of Sierra Leoneans, has doubled the rate, about 100,000 people than any other region of the UK. Over 4,000 people were hospitalized, with around 700 of them under 18. So that's the age of most of our children. Nearly 300 people were killed by knife attacks, with the youngest being 14. 1,509 knife crime involved women or girls in 2018. So it's not only the boys. Okay? So as women, we feel powerless to defend our children and loved ones. And as FISIL, we do want to get involved with the Sierra Leonean community. We know in our culture, we are very introverted. But with this knife crime, we need for lift the basket small, we need for engage, and we need for accept. For example, what is going wrong? What is it that we're not doing right? Are we hiding the truth? Are we covering behind the truth? So we want to come together to identify what is going wrong, how we can engage and influence our local community so that our children do not fall victim to the knife crime. We want to also encourage organizations that are working together within the UK on this particular issue. We want you, please invite us, we want to work with you. And as we know that within our different communities, either within the Sierra Leonean community or other community, we have our cultural beliefs, our cultural ways of doing things, so we need for do and this alone. Okay? And this, anybody in shame, not to that person in shame, now we're all shame. Because eventually, we don't see in the UK, when things are going well, they say this UK person. When things are not going well, they say the Sierra Leonean born. So we need for link Sierra Leone to the positive and not the negative. And we know, say, when we're living here in the UK, there is a lot going on, especially within the family. We not get this, probably the social support system where we get back home. There's lots of things we do on our own. We get under a lot of stress. We're in a different culture and community. We want keep up. We want to do it, we begin and do this, we all begin and go yonder. But then we get a balance because we get our own culture as well. We're there at the back of our mind. I want to raise me begin according to the Sierra Leonean way. So we need to engage together. We get older,